Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in opposition to Senate Bill 451. For the better part of a week, I have heard how policy, decisions, and ideas drove and led to the creation of this 130-plus page attack on public education in West Virginia. These so-called policies incorporated in this bill were taken verbatim from model legislation and position papers drafted by out-of-state corporate groups and think tanks who have long since desired to shake the very foundation of free public schools in West Virginia. We heard from these so-called policy experts who had a hand in creating and crafting this legislation, but all of them were from out of state. Part of my opposition to this bill is because the true policy experts from West Virginia, that being the State Board of Education, 55 county boards of education, 55 county superintendents, 55 special education directors, administrators, and principals all across this great state of West Virginia had no opportunity to provide any input into these so-called policy decisions. None. These true policy experts I speak of, who work with all of our children every day, could have provided some valuable insight and objectivity to this piece of legislation. But sadly, they were never given the chance. And let's drill down further. Let me tell you who else was never given the chance. The West Virginia teacher. Teachers like Lindsey Browning, who teaches kindergarten at Holden Grade School, right up the road from where I live. She recently told me a story regarding one of the children in her class whose mother went down the road to run a simple errand about 3 months ago, and she's never returned. You see, Lindsey is a true policy expert. She daily assumes the role of mother, counselor, best friend, shoulder to cry on. She cares about these at-risk children in her kindergarten classroom. She has mixed emotions as a teacher to see Friday come because she knows she's going to get 2 days off. But she wonders about these at-risk children. Are they going to have a hot meal to eat between Friday and Monday when she sees them again? Lindsey could have provided valuable insight into this legislation, but she never got the chance. I'm not going to talk about the multiple objects of this bill. That's been debated and hashed out in previous days. I am the newest member of this body and probably one of the least qualified to stand before so many distinguished colleagues, but I have a true, heartfelt compassion about children and education in West Virginia. You see, it's the only office I ever aspired to, and I did it 3 times. What you all are failing to realize is what you're addressing covers 8 hours a day. And whether you're in a private school, a public school, a Christian school, homeschool, whatever the case may be, if you've got engaged parents that are active in that child's education model, whichever 4 of those he chooses, you're going to have a positive outcome. I promise you. It will work. Any of the 4 will work. But your 130-page bill does nothing to address those other 16 hours a day when the child that comes from the broken home or the drug-infested home, or he don't know who his parents are, or he's got an 80-year-old grandmother trying his best or their best to just get the child to the next day. The bill doesn't address those 16 hours out of a structured setting. That's the part that keeps me awake at night, being a former Board of Education president. On January 22nd, we as a body debated Senate Bill 1, a great piece of legislation, Mr. President. You are to be commended for your efforts. A great piece of legislation. My esteemed colleague, the minority leader, offered a simple yet very effective amendment to the bill, which was quickly disputed by our Senate Finance Chair, and he gave a very compelling rationale as to why he was against the amendment. On January 22nd, the Finance Chair said, and I quote, "Don't Christmas tree this bill." January 22nd, 2019, in this very chamber. Members of the Senate, ladies and gentlemen, those throughout West Virginia who are watching and listening to our proceedings today, this bill is the Christmas tree of all Christmas trees. It's like putting a 10-foot Douglas fir in a room with an 8-foot ceiling. It does not fit, and it will not work. And Christmas also, I have fond memories of a child. A Christmas tree is usually topped with an angel or a star. This behemoth of a Christmas tree is topped with a non-severability clause, which adds insult to injury and slaps 20,000 West Virginia educators and 8,000 plus service personnel right in the face. Ladies and gentlemen, that's just wrong. Mr. President, today is a day of decision in West Virginia. Now is the appointed time. I urge rejection of Senate Bill 451. Thank you.